Hi there, and welcome to A Journey to Milk and Honey.
So I want to jump in for a few minutes to share something with y'all that I probably should be very embarrassed about, but I'm going to share anyway. About 1 year ago, after I first started attending Shabbat at the nearby Chabad, the rabbi's daughter suggested that I purchase a book to help jumpstart my Jewish learning journey. The book, which, by the way, is an awesome overview of Judaism from many perspectives, is called The Book of Jewish Knowledge, published by the Rohr Jewish Learning Institute. And I must tell you all that this book is a beautiful book, one that some folks might consider a nice coffee table book, but also that it's really super comprehensive, but at what I would call a 30,000-foot level. So not terribly complicated or too deep in the Jewish weeds, which is great for me. Now, honestly, I have really looked little at this book so far, just a handful of times at this point. But I do want to share with y'all that about a year ago when I first opened this book, I came across something that I never heard of that about knocked me off my feet. The book is broken down into just 5 chapters, the first being Jewish history. At the beginning of this chapter, the writers begin with some very poignant words from an array of sources and people. One of those people is Mark Twain, who is still considered one of America's greatest writers. And though Mark Twain wasn't exactly a fan of the Jewish people, he did come around a bit later in life to understand and appreciate the Jewish people more. In 1899, when antisemitism was widespread in the United States, large companies did not hire Jews. Universities either didn't admit Jews or limited their numbers with strict quotas. And respectable people like Ford and Edison expressed their anti-Jewish feelings openly. Well, Mark Twain had an answer for them, and he did so in an essay entitled Concerning the Jews, published in Harper's magazine in 1899, and which is also printed in the first chapter of the Book of Jewish Knowledge. So, with this in mind, I want to share with you all this essay entitled Concerning the Jews by Mark Twain, which reads as follows. If the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous dim puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jews ought hardly to be heard of. But he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also a way out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world in all the ages and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other peoples have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now, or have vanished. The Jews saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Isn't that just mind-blowing? Mark Twain's essay concerning the Jews, published 125 years ago, pre-World War II, by the way, in Harper's magazine, 1899, offers a fascinating mix of admiration and contemplation about Jewish resilience, intellect, and influence throughout history. Twain explores the paradox of Jewish survival, in the face of relentless persecution while questioning the roots of anti-Semitism or Jew hatred, as so many do today. Now, Mark Twain wasn't the only Jew hater that recognized something special about the Jewish people. I mean, obviously, there have been and continue to be millions more who see something special about the Jewish people. And millions of them have either a clear mission to eradicate us, like Adolf Hitler did, and still millions of Islamic radicals do today. But what's so amazing is that even ordinary people across the planet, including university students, members of our very own U.S. Congress, and even many of our neighbors today, partake in this hatred, either actively or passively, as they look away, no different than ordinary people did during the Holocaust. So I must give Mark Twain some credit, as he did publicly recognize the Jewish people's perseverance and resilience, as well as our contributions to civilization. His famous observation, quote, "All things are mortal but the Jew," underscores the miraculous endurance of the Jewish people despite relentless persecution over the millennia. Today, as Jew hatred spreads like wildfire across the globe, we must heed Mark Twain's reflection on the roots of such hatred and challenge it with unwavering resolve. Now is the time to educate, speak out, and stand firm against Jew hatred. Just as Twain marveled at the endurance of the Jewish people, we too must ensure that their legacy of perseverance is met with solidarity and action. In the face of rising Jew hatred, silence is not an option. For me and for so many Jews across the planet, now is the time that we, and I encourage you to stand up, speak out, and be a force for justice for the Jewish people. Thank you all for joining me today on A Journey to Milk and Honey. Before you go, don't forget that you can stay connected with us on social media, as we're on all major platforms at JMH Podcast, and we would love to hear from you. You can also find us on YouTube at JMH Podcast or A Journey to Milk and Honey. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, as it really helps out our channel. And wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to follow us there to stay updated on new episodes and to keep your journey going. If you're looking for more, you can visit us online at ajourneytomilkandhoney.com or jmhpodcast.com. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to leave a review or comment, as your feedback helps the podcast to grow and improve, and we truly value your support. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and shalom.